Hi, welcome to Access TV. I'm Parm. I'm here at the Scan headquarters in Bolton for the launch of the NVIDIA GeForce GTX580. I'm here with Ben from NVIDIA. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Parm.
Good to see you, Ben. Now, NVIDIA, for NVIDIA, this event is kind of like a celebration. You've already got the fastest GPU in the world with the NVIDIA GeForce GTX480. You've now beaten yourself with the launch of the 580. We've reviewed it. It's quick, and it's kind of like it's realized the performance of the Fermi architecture. How does it feel to have this card on the market now?
One thing I would say is that I'd say Fermi has always been, performance-wise, a fantastic architecture. I'm sure from when we first saw it and first rolled it out to everyone, people were impressed about where we were going. I mean, just the geometry performance alone is miles ahead of anything else that was seen beforehand. With 580 though, what we really have now is a realization of all the potential that was there, not just on performance, but everywhere else as well. So 580 is, in my opinion, the ideal highest end enthusiast card because it's super fast, it's quiet, it doesn't use as much power. It really does bring up the GTX series really kicking and screaming into the best DX11 card on the planet.
Okay, you mentioned that it's quieter and more efficient. Obviously, you were quite heavily criticized when the 480 launched. It was very power hungry and quite hot running. How important was it to improve those factors?
So obviously that they were key, and one thing I would say is that our R&D teams do take all the feedback that they get from press, from customers, from partners on board, in really about making new chips. But it's important to remember that GTX 580 wasn't just made up in the past couple of months since 480 released. We have really big GPU teams that are consistently making new wonderful GPUs, and this was simply one of the GPUs on that roadmap. There are some subtle differences in the chip, in the design, and something like the transistor, for example. We went back, we looked at all the transistors, made sure we were using the optimum ones. We really have architecturally made 580 faster than 480. So even if you ran 580 with 480 cores like the 480 and at 480 clocks, it would still be quicker.
Okay, so obviously there are improvements to the architecture. The card is new, but given the changes and the similarities, do you think it warrants jumping from the 480 branding to the 580? Why introduce the 500 series now?
So I think what's very important to realize is that I think we've been, in the past, we've been much maligned about our naming scheme. People have said it's been very confusing.
You say in the past, but I think it's still happening now.
I don't know, I think 400 series has improved that a lot. I think 500 series continues that. And I think what's very key for us is that when you look at the actual performance, we now have 30% more performance in the GTX 480. That's a pretty significant jump, and in my mind, certainly one that warrants a new series of cards. I also think, in the end, when you look back in 500 series, and that is key word there, the series, when you see the entire stack top to bottom, I think everyone will understand why we went down the 500 series route. And I think all you have to do is look today at your review, for example, that Trinder wrote, and also all the other reviews online about how many plaudits this card has been winning. I think that justifies where we went with the card naming.
Okay, you just mentioned the whole series. There have been rumours and speculation recently about other 500 series cards. When do you reckon we'll be seeing those on the market?
Well, I definitely can't answer that question, but all I will say, if you look at our previous series of cards, if you look at the GT200 series, 9800, 8800 series, and look at the kind of time frame it took to get new cards in, I think you'll see, broadly speaking, a similar kind of time frame. Maybe one or two surprises in that as well, but I think you'll see people will be very happy no matter what budget they have in the end to spend on a card.
Okay, great. That gives us an idea. You're pushing 3D quite heavily here.
Yes.
You've been banging on the 3D drum for quite a while. You specifically.
Yes.
How do you feel it's going? Do you think it's getting the traction you want it to?
Definitely. So one thing I would say is that there's one tiny game that came out this week that you may have heard of, Call of Duty Black Ops.
Yeah, I know of it.
They've been pushing 3D quite a bit since they announced it was 3D quite a while back. Black Ops is one of those titles that Treyarch, the developer, put 3D in very, very early. And I think when you look at the actual final game, you'll see just what, by having the early development, can really do for a game. Everything's in 3D in a really impressive manner. The menu, when you start the game up, all the cutscenes, it's all true 3D. The other really nice thing as well is that now you're getting the idea, developers are really understanding how to use 3D to the best ability. So as an example, you don't always want things coming out at you at the screen. If you imagine you or I walking down the street, our ability to view in 3D is all about adding depth, and you actually quite limitedly have something coming into your face very often.
You don't want it to
At
be
least
a
I hope. So no, definitely not. And that's what we want. 3D is simply another tool that developers can use to make games better. So I always use the example, a couple of years ago, HDR. Every game developer put lens flare in their games, like a ridiculous amount of lens flare that I've certainly, maybe it's because we live in the UK, right? So it's not quite sunny here, but certainly I never see that much lens flare on a regular basis.
Okay.
However, now that they've learned to use it, you see some really impressive lighting effects in games. And it's exactly the same thing for 3D. It's another tool that developers will begin to use more and more, and developers are really excited by it. I mean, I've made no secrecy in the past, to you as well, that I strongly believe gaming is where 3D will be pushed the majority of times first, and where it will enter most people's home for the first time. So it's key for us.
Okay, so next year, new 500 series cards, plenty of 3D games. What else can we expect from NVIDIA?
Lots of things. So don't forget, NVIDIA isn't just about, obviously, graphics chips on the desktop side of things. We're going to be seeing more GeForce mobile products. We'll be seeing Optimus expand in the mobile area. Tegra is a very big growth area for us going forward as well. So I'm sure you'll see lots of exciting products based around Tegra too. And of course, for the professionally minded amongst us, there's lots of Quadro and Tesla products on the way as well.
Brilliant. Great. Thanks very much, Ben. Stay tuned for more from Hexus TV.